It's at best.
There is always one in that opening session, and it looked like, for the most part, things were going to go somewhat according to plan. And, Craig, no. Big 12's BYU, which is a team that a lot of people had going to the Sweet 16, a very good team with what Coach Pope and them have done, but they were not effective today. And how about this? They're done because Duquesne, for the first time in 55 years, has won an NCAA tournament game, beating the Cougars 71-67. The number 11 seed advances.
Yeah, congrats to everybody who had that pick initially. Congrats to the Dukes on a major win in the NCAA tournament and getting to move on to the second round. That's a big deal. That's big money for any program who's not in the top conferences. Even for those in the top conference, it's still a very big deal. So you can imagine just how much celebration is ongoing right now for Duquesne and their fan base. So, yeah, that's the first glimpse into whatever we're going to get in the form of March Madness and upsets. There will certainly be more to come, but that was the Kickstarter. And for BYU, that sucks for them. But they were a team that if their shot wasn't falling and they couldn't get stops, which they couldn't often very much get stops, and so they were highly dependent on shooting the ball well. And when they didn't, and that double whammy was the challenge, that's not something that many teams are able to overcome. And so, didn't shoot well, couldn't defend well, and give Duquesne a lot of credit. So down goes BYU, and they'll go back to the drawing board and try to figure out how they can get into the second round of this tournament. I saw a stat where it's been, since Jimmer Fredette, I think, since they'd moved on in the tournament, something along those lines. I think Mark Pope, or not Mark Pope, but one of the BYU reporters had put that out there, I saw in passing. So, that's obviously disappointing. I mean, you get so excited for this, and then boom, just like that, the season's, not just the game's over, the season's over. So let's see what Duquesne can do the rest of the way.
I'm sorry. I would have had a power ranking on who would have advanced the deepest among the 8 teams in the Big 12. I would have had them in the middle of the pack if they would have gone at least perhaps a round or two. That's the 11th time in 14 years. CBS just put that up. The 11th time in 14 years that 11 seed has won in the opening round in the NCAA tournament.
By the way, Duquesne's coach, Keith Dambrot, who looks like he's at a central casting of basketball coaches. He did the in-game interview. His voice is all raspy and northern. But at the end of the game, he drew up 2 great plays. They have a free throw shooter who shoots 94%.
Yep.
And
Grant.
Yeah, Grant, and drew up 2 plays to get him the ball and get him fouled, which sealed the game. And I've never seen... He's a guy, 94% free throw shooter. He's almost 2 feet back from the line.
He has kind of a strange delivery, which somewhat with his left hand on the ball, even as he's shooting, in case you didn't see it. There was a time earlier this year when Duquesne lost 5 consecutive games in the meat of their schedule, then lost a couple of others in and out after that, but they've won 8 straight, had to win their conference tournament to get into the tournament, and here they are now, headed to this weekend.
Yeah, Jay Catch, 13 years since BYU advanced in the tournament. Jimmer Fredette's run, the most recent success that they had enjoyed in hoops, which was getting past the first round. So, it's been 13 years. I'd seen a Jimmer Fredette video randomly like a couple of days ago. I don't know if that was just kind of convenient foreshadowing. Maybe I should have paid attention like the streak's going to continue or something. But, it's been a while for them. So that's a bummer for one side, but it's all about the celebration of Duquesne and whoever else joins them in this opening weekend, but they got it started.
Well, we're going to get to the other games currently underway and also a couple of finals from earlier today, including the one we just mentioned, and then the schedule tonight. One note now, that's BYU for the Big 12. They're done. So there are 8 teams, and you hope that this is not the start of something because of how good the conference has been. So you'd like to see everybody else follow up with some nice success. In fact, 4 other teams playing, as I mentioned, and then 3 more tomorrow, including Baylor very early.
Yeah, I mean, I know we talk a lot of Big 12 because we're based in a Big 12 city and cover them. But, I don't know. I'm not, rooting for everybody in the conference to be as far as they can go. I'm not that level of pride when it comes to. I'm not SEC guy. I'm not going to turn into SEC guy of let's root for everybody. I can't do that because there's some teams I don't like and I don't want to see them win, even if it means people that are not me get more money for it. But you'd like to see the conference live up to their reputation so that at the end there's not, ACC coaches going, see See, we told you they were frauds, that kind of thing. You would like to avoid that and maintain your reputation. But, yeah, I'm not going to SEC this thing up and, chant Big 12 every time a team moves on into the next round.
All right, here are some other games going on right now. Creighton is on their way. They've just completed their win against Akron, winning easily. That's now a final, 77-60. They were only up 4 at halftime. Then they had a nice big second half. Freeman for Akron scored 21. Kalbrenner had 23 for Creighton. Meanwhile, we mentioned that Duquesne game. There's Arizona. They're winning very big, trying to wrap up their game right now. The
Go
last
Big 12.
score I
Go
saw,
Big 12. No, I'm just kidding.
counts, yep. 82-63 Long Beach State. And so now Coach Monson's career at Long Beach State comes to an end. He's the one that was fired. They went into a run in the conference tournament and made the tournament.
Oh, did you hear what his AD said?
Oh, we're going to get to that.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
God.
Oh, do you have that, Garrett?
Foot in mouth.
Yeah, go ahead. John Fanta and many of the national writers who was AD said when he was asked about Monson being fired, who's made this late run, this is what he actually said. My belief and hope is that by doing what I did and the timing of it, they would play inspired, and that's what they did. I'm not trying to pat myself in the back, but it worked. Yes, you are. Yes, you were.
That is Hall of Fame spin right there, man.
Absolutely. And so Long Beach State is done.
This is a guy, Bobby Smitherson here, Smitherin, who's about to get blown to smithereens by his fans.
Or join Slytherin.
Yeah, who does not understand how the transfer portal works, apparently. That you say something like that, you clearly have got some good players on Long Beach State that can get a team to a tournament, and all of them could just go in the transfer portal tomorrow because they're mad about Dan Monson. Now, look, the answer to that question is, I thought it was best for the program. This little run has been inspiring, and I'm glad the team rallied around him, but we do have to move on instead of, I'm brilliant.
Yeah, I take credit over the coach you fired and the players who, by the way, were making shots.
Yeah.
Also, I mentioned Creighton. They've moved on. Arizona now all but moved on. Now, here's a game that Illinois is scratching and clawing against Morehead State. Late first half, 4 minutes left. They're up by 5, but they were down just a moment ago as the number 3 Illini trying to move on against Morehead State.
Yeah, there's a good ways to go. Whole second half to go, about 4 minutes left in the first. But, yeah, it's a tight game so far. So that's one to this is a great day, having all these random games on and getting to see teams that maybe you haven't watched much of and knowing that it's not just like a basketball game that kind of comes and goes. It's like, no, these all matter. Every single one of these matter. The tournament format is just so excellent every time this time of year rolls around. So, yeah, Illinois Morehead State on the TV. Got Arizona Long Beach about to close out there.
Arizona's up 22 with a minute to go in that.
They're about to win, so they'll move on. But yeah, just a lot of fun, man. Love this time of year.
North Carolina was playing with their food a little bit with Wagner, the 16 seed who won earlier in the week, and now they've blown that game open up 18, just under 14 minutes left. Now, the rest of the day, there's a couple of games that are about to tip off. In fact, number 11 seed Oregon against 6 seed South Carolina. And then in about a half hour, Nevada, the number 10 seed against 7 seed Dayton. Earlier today, Tom Izzo and Michigan State played today like they did earlier in the year when they hammered Baylor, 69-51, a 9 seed beating an 8 seed. Those are always a 50-50 game, but Michigan State wins by 18. And here's what was the comment that I gave to you?
This Chris Vanini.
Chris Vanini. The win also gives Michigan State the rights to MSU and State. Those are the rules.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Like if USC played South Carolina, there are things that, or, hey, Tennessee and Texas at some point maybe with that game going on possibly this weekend.
Michigan State is one of those Jekyll and Hyde teams, not too unlike Texas, where clearly they have amazing athletes there. And Tom Izzo, he doesn't – maybe this is a dud of a class by Izzo standards because they're a 9 seed or an 8 seed and they're in the middle of the pack and, kind of stumbled their way through parts of the Big Ten season. But clearly they can explode and do some great things. Look, we saw them drill Baylor early this year.
They beat them down.
Absolutely drilled Baylor, who's a higher ranked seed than them, obviously. beat him down really badly, but then, had some rocky times. But when you put Tom Izzo in the tournament, those things are going to, he's going to bring teams together, and they're going to find their way to make a run no matter what seed he's in. So I picked Mississippi State because I'm an idiot, and I feel foolish to bet against Tom Izzo. But there you go. First round showing that everything that happens before today doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah, there's a couple of times in recent years where they have bowed out early because we've made fun of Zach whenever that's happened. Our friend Zach, who's a Michigan State fan, so we made sure to point that out when they lost, like in the first round or whatever. But it doesn't happen often, and they're very good come tournament time. Typically, I saw this from Chris Solari. Extend Tom Izzo, and he had his controversial comments earlier this week, so he better, good for him to go win, and that way can keep talking.
But by the way, he beat a Autonomy 5 team, so he wants more of those in the tournament. He just beat one of them out of the gate.
I saw from Reddit college basketball, or maybe Reddit college football today, Tom Izzo backing up his mid-majors needless bids by beating a small team out of the American Southeast. A team from a small conference in the American Southeast.
Yeah, that's an apt description. But, Tom Izzo is from Chris Solari. Today extended his NCAA tournament record with a 17th victory as the lower-seeded team.
Wow.
Also 11-1 all-time against the Izzo is 9-0 all-time against SEC foes in the tournament. Michigan State as a whole is 11-1 all-time. And the only loss Michigan State's had against an SEC team in the tournament was in 1978 when that
was the year before they won the national title.
Was to Kentucky, and that was Magic Johnson came back, and they go on to win the national title. So I thought that was a cool note. That was the one time, and they won the title in '79 the year after that. But he beats teams when he's the underdog, and that's a really impressive mark. And Michigan State moving on.
All right, now here are the games, the schedule tonight, including. Right as we end the show, Texas playing Colorado State. I think it's going to say Colorado. It's Colorado State. That's my fault. Tonight, they start right before we end. Colorado State winning earlier in the week. Iowa State and South Dakota State at 6:35, and a couple of late tips, Texas Tech, NC State, the Wolfpack against the Red Raiders, who I saw where Washington, their big, tall drink of water, was warming up a little bit. Whether or not he plays or not remains to be seen, but maybe he will be ready. And then KU, without Kevin McCullough, against Samford, a team that does fill it up from the outside in an intriguing game at 9. And speaking of Kansas,